Welcome to Table Stakes. I'm Michelle Stevens, course director at CXM Academy. Every CX team has a strategy, or at least they think they do. They have a journey map on the wall, they have an NPS target, they have a list of initiatives. Maybe a program around personalization, maybe something on loyalty. But that's not a strategy, that's a to-do list. A real CX strategy starts with harder questions. What are we actually capable of delivering today? And what do we need to build to get where we want to go? My guest today is Joan Sardà. He's a CX strategist, a professor teaching customer analytics and CX design, and an independent consultant. He helps organizations move from a collection of CX activities to an actual strategy. Joan, welcome to Table Stakes.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Hey, Joan. I'm really excited about this conversation because, there are so many questions I actually have for you. I know that you have a deep expertise in strategy, in customer experience strategy. But let's start with the more fundamental question. What does a real CX strategy actually consist of? Because most of companies have a list of CX initiatives and then call it a strategy. But what is the difference?
Yeah, well, probably the first question is that under the CX name, the customer strategy name, for lots of different realities, depending on how the relationship with the customer, how mature this organization is. So you really find different situations, and you do find that situation, that lists of CX initiatives, which range from creating wow experiences to create more distinctiveness about our service or our offering, or just implementing a voice of the customer program because they don't really have one, or they just stop it there, through to real strategy, which is really having a set of decisions to be made on how are we going to create value and capture value from the customers receiving what they expect to receive from us, because our brand has created a promise and we are delivering it. So basically is how do we make sure that we are delivering the promise we made, and that we are doing it better than the competition, to be as if it's possible. Okay, so from there are lots of questions to be made, because even though there are many design and operational decisions or works to be done, first we have to be more analytic. If you take the framework of playing to win from Blafley and Martin, if you know it, they say, okay, you have first to decide where to play and how to win. That's strategy. Okay, what's going to make a difference? What's going to make you reach your objectives, cover your gaps in goals? And then, well, where to play first means that you have to understand who are your customers, where they are, which is your customer base, how many of them there are, how much do they spend, how different are they, depending on the cohort they belong to, the channel they were acquired, the channel they buy more often, or when they buy in those channels, and basically how much do they contribute in revenue and profit to the company. Because we are not doing this just for the sake of being more idealistic. We need to do it for business, by making our customers more satisfied and more happy, but getting the business. So basically, what's at stake with each of them, and what's the customer lifetime value, etc., etc. Then we must decide how to win. Okay, this is the customer base, and different parts of the customer base, and how can we make it more interesting for them, or more profitable for us to buy from us. So first, then we must understand, why do they still buy from us? Are they getting from us the job that they came here to be done? Are we doing it properly, and are we doing it better than their alternatives? Let's not forget that we are in competition, and we share customers with our competition for sure. So we must understand how well are we doing compared to them. We may have a small loyal base of customers. Perfect. Let's keep them. Let's just love them and make them love us in return, if that's possible. But normally we will find that we are ordinarily sharing those customers with other companies. So we must understand, how can we do better than them? Okay, and then, how can we target them more appropriately? How can we help them? How can we? What are the frictions that they're experimenting? Where are the opportunities for them to grow in revenue and profit? What can we do to do it? Okay, and finally, then we have to decide, at least then yes, we get to the list of initiatives or possibilities that can be done.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
prioritize.
Yeah. Hey, so to get my understanding straight, it's not necessarily, it's not a shopping list. It's a strategy that you yeah, it's a system that you're actually building. But before you can design that system, you need to know where you actually stand, right? And that's where most companies get stuck. Now, how do you assess an organization's capabilities without without it becoming a 6-month consulting project on its own? How do you do that?
Yeah. First, we must understand that some degree of analysis will have to be made of diagnostic. It's not realistic to pursue a project directly to the execution. No, that doesn't work like that. It needs to be diagnosed. Okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, we speak to the project leader, and if we can, to the project champion too. Normally, in our cases, we usually find that the project leader is the CMO. It's not typical in all the cases, but we normally work with them, and or the CEO. When do we work with the CEO directly? Very often when it's a founder company, or when we have been called by an investment fund, which they want to make a turnaround, or they want to understand the business they're in, or to be sure that the potential they see in the company, it's going to be rightly executed in the customer strategy way. Okay, so we usually have access to them, to the CEO and the CMO, but we have to talk to many more people that are involved. Okay? The question is that we need to gather some data, and by gathering the data, the customer data, we map the customer system. We say, okay, which is the customer mindset here? Who feels that it's owning the customer, or which problems of the customer are felt that are owned by different people in the organization? Which data do they gather from the customer? How do they use it? How do they share it? Is it reported? What does it affect in the workings of the company? So we have to be very realistic. An organization is a collection of people who are trying to work towards a common goal, but have very vested interest. And the definition of incentives is very important here. And while we are doing this, we try to learn what is people motivated to do here, how are they recognized and rewarded and paid for. And many times we find that there are inconsistencies in the customer sense of those incentives or those KPIs. Those KPIs are merely internal and maybe are not considering what we call customer success indicators, CSIs. I mean, how does the customer measure if it's getting successful in what's come here? So we must measure that before we just merely measure KPIs. And many other things, how decisions are made, and we start detecting power struggles. Who wants to fight over the right to get more people, more budget, etc., etc. That's an interesting thing that you find when you try to implement a customer transformation strategy, and that's basic. Maybe we will speak about this later on. Okay, so depending on the size and the complexity of the organization, it takes more or less. But I always try to have results at the point around 2 months. We need to have a quick analysis of what does the data tell us, and what have we seen in the organization, and not to forget, this is the most important thing actually. We have to also research the customer. We have to ask current customers what are they experiencing about the company. Are they feeling, or are they seeing what we expect them to see, or we want them to see? And we act as customers ourselves. I mean, we just go through the journeys and see the journey is broken here. We don't really get it, what's happening here. So in parallel, we are getting different sources of information that help us build different tools or different ways in which we can help and define that strategy.
Yeah. Joan, one of the things that sometimes I find this very interesting what you're saying. What I also see in reality sometimes is that the decision makers are on one hand, and then you have CX leaders on the other side who have to build this kind of strategy, and they know that they need to do their homework, and they need to do an assessment and understanding customers. But on the other hand, they also feel the pressure from top management who go like, yeah, this is basically just fixing some things, right? Isn't it about making our customer service better or doing better marketing or something like that? That's also a tension that you sometimes see. How do you push back on that? How do you explain to them, like, guys, this is the wrong way. If you're going to do quick fixes, then we're going to drive this truck into the wall.
Well, clearly we must tie it to business results. We must tell them, okay, how much does it cost us every churn point which is happening at this exact place? So if we just fix this, it's not just a superficial fix. It's something that will have an impact in profitability, not only in the short, but also in the long-term run, because we measure customer lifetime value, etc. So we can more or less assess what can we just stop losing, which profit can we stop losing, because it's invisible for us. We just assume that people will go, and actually they will go. That's true. But if we identify which are the preventable causes of loss that we find, then we can use our customer success team, or we can just change sometimes important things, but many times minor things. Just because it seems like a minor tweak doesn't mean it's not important. It can be crucial, because sometimes a copy makes a difference of, people just are not getting it and they feel they are not invited, and this changing copy that makes it absolutely different. Behavioral interventions that in that sense are very useful. So it's not a question of how big the intervention is. It can be a very small intervention. The important thing is that you're able to tie it to relate it to, okay, how much money how much is it at stake here? How much money can we stop losing, and how much additional income can we just create here with this action?
Yeah. Now, once you know where you stand, how do you decide what to prioritize? How do you choose between investing in personalization or in loyalty or in journey design or something else entirely?
Well, we use normally the typical impact and effort matrix score metrics. So it's an exercise that everybody understands, helps align people around the execution and the decision of what to do first and what to keep for later, or what to just completely forget.
Yeah, that's a 2x2 matrix, right? It's impact on one axis and effort on the other axis.
Absolutely. On the one hand, you register, okay, what's the expected benefit from this in terms of less profit loss and more profit in increase, not just revenue, profit. I always speak profit, not revenue. And on the other hand, effort, which is not only how difficult it is, but it's how much does it cost. Is people open to change this? Do people understand it's an easy opportunity and they are actually looking forward someone to tell them to do it? Because people don't feel authorized sometimes to do things, depending on which organizations. They're too bureaucratical, too strict, and they say, okay, I don't touch anything. I just do the way they taught me how to do it. I know this is wrong, but I don't feel the incentives to change anything. But we will, and actually by speaking to people, you learn a lot. You get lots of information about what can possibly be done, because they know the operation better than you will ever do. And people actually want to do things better. They feel bad when they see the customer is like not happy, and for the same cost, why don't we do it well? And so you will get lots of information from them. Artificial intelligence is very good at crunching data, and we're using it for a long time, long before 2022. I mean, analytics is predictive analytics, etc. This is going on algorithms for a long time. But we still need people who speak to people and who learn the intricacies of organizational design and of the research on what's going on in the organization, so that you get to learn and obviously to speak to customers.
Yeah. Hey, but you've talked about tying a CX strategy to the business. But how do you connect a CX strategy to business outcomes? Because most CX strategies live in a silo. And how do you make sure it's tied to revenue and retention or growth, or as you said, profit?
Yeah, basically we can map what's happening. Where are we losing customers? Where are we losing customers that we used to have? Where are things not going the way they should? And from there you can start diagnosing. Okay, this is probably the cause. You may be just trying, and well, this is a hypothesis. This is going to can we operate on this? Yeah. Do we see the difference? Yes. So let's scale it. Many times you have to work on tests before you run. Of course, because you scale it organization wide, because it normally takes effort and money. But you actually can make experiments that determine how you are improving, and you can calculate how much impact will it have on business. The question normally is, and you're mentioning silos, and it's true, is that sometimes these interventions require departments to cooperate, to just share information, to get to know how to change the procedures, how they interact one with each other, and that sometimes it's a little bit harder to be true. But when you have the customer as the common thread of the organization, as the center of the organization, then you start being able to hang different objectives directly related to customer profitability. And people, you have to visualize how are people influencing that. I mean, how is what you're doing here affecting the probability that they return, that they are what customer service influence does have in customer satisfaction, etc., etc. So all these things can be finally tied to, in a way or another, to results. I'm not very fond of NPS. Actually, I'm not at all a fan of NPS.
Okay, good.
Yes, I mean, if we are to measure it, I mean, that's for me, that's not the way. For many reasons. I mean, it has showed not to be a predictor of sales consistently. It's usually badly implemented by people in the operation, because it's tied to their own bonuses, etc., and they are clearly it's clearly being twisted or tweaked, and it becomes a target and instead of a measure, and it's not.
That is Goodhart's law, right? Goodhart's law says that once you make something, once you make a metric a target, it ceases to become a good metric, and that's a huge problem that we see all around the world. It's not just in Europe or in the US. So it's everywhere. Everybody who transforms that metric into a target is doomed, and that goes for any metric, regardless if it's NPS or CSAT.
Totally. And actually, when you stop people or you just create an extra step for them, you're creating friction. You are just making the experience less agreeable, especially if it has not been excellent. But well, I think there are other ways in which you can get to know that. And the idea here is you must get information. Information is basic to measure and to decide and to recommend different things. And we normally don't have that level of customer data, and we have to start building the capability of how are we going to get that. We cannot. We have organizations which have no direct information from the customers, and they have to rely on just doing interventions on the general service structure. What do we do for everyone? We cannot say we don't know who are we talking to, so we just do it better for everyone, good, or what we feel to be better for everyone, perfect. But many times, what is how do you say that? One man's poison is another one's medicine, or vice versa. I never get it. So sometimes you have to go different treatment. Many times you have to have a different treatment to people who have different level of knowledge of your service, experience, or the level of how much are they buying. How do you need to treat them differently. So you need to have different engagement rules for different people. And in order to do that, you have to be able to identify who you're talking to. And that's a structure thing. And you find one of the things we find when we do those diagnostics is how well is the tech stack? Does it exist at all? Do they have a CRM? Are they able to identify who they're talking to, or they are just unknown visitors and nothing else? Do they have a platform of engagement which you can measure? And then, do they have built journeys? Are the journeys working, etc., etc.?
Yeah, that's something that I see in daily business as well, where people are actually struggling to answer some, you could say, basic questions, like where do I find my financial data about customers? How do I calculate customer lifetime value? Sometimes I see people really struggle with where am I going to find this kind of information? And it's then easy for us to say on the sideline to say, yeah, you need to calculate lifetime value or whatever, or cohort-based churn rates and stuff like that. But sometimes people really struggle with finding that data.
You know how's your best ally? Financial directors, CFOs. I love them, and we get them to love us because we have finally give some figures behind what they consider to be artistical ideas or just idealistics. So no, we are going to measure this, and how are we going to measure this? Like this. So, and they're very used to measuring everything and to counting it in euros or in dollars. Okay, so okay, I love that. So they usually in the project. I mean, I normally invite them, or if they're not, if they have, when they create the steering committee, there's normally a steering committee consisting of customer service, retail operations, or similar, and I always say, let's have finance in it. Sometimes HR, not every organization has that respect for the HR function. I started in the HR function, so I have respect for it. But I understand that other companies don't leverage it in the way it can be leveraged. But finance is absolutely a must. You need to have them on your side, and because they are going to provide you with data and ask you for data. And when the CFO demands that information, everybody moves to provide it or to get it, or to let's find an indicator for this. How can we just build this? And sometimes it's not that difficult. The question is that be conscious that that is a relevant information. One of the things we do is to build data models. We get normally you can find we usually work with retail companies. We have abundant sources of data, but even in that case, we have a very basic transactional information. When the way in which you combine this information tells you lots of things. How much, for instance, how long does it take from the first to the second purchase? That's a very fair indicator of future value, and that both informations are there. So, but you have to calculate them and to have them ready in order to construct. Okay, which profile this customer is? How impactful is it that he's not feeling that happy? And so I'm very attentive to people who are just buying up over a certain threshold in their first purchase. There are different indicators, and that you learn by crunching the data, and you also learn it by asking people who actually do. When you are doing your kind of segmentations of the database, if salespeople do not understand it or do not believe they are credible, you have to go back to the drawing desk.
Yeah.
It's probably not good. So, and we combine both things. And then when you are acting in the organization and you are involving all these important people, then the moment you roll on, then you find people are accepting it and they are expecting good things to happen. And it's very important to have people expecting good things to happen. And it's very important not to fail there. You have to be able to create quick wins in a way,
Yeah.
which show people, okay, things are moving. It's not easy. It's not easy to build a CX program, and you have to create credibility. You will very likely start with no resources. You will very likely start from a very weak position. I've been there. I've been in that position, and I know what it means to build something from scratch. Up upon some management theory, because for many people, okay, this is still theory. Let's see how it works. So you will not have lots of people. Basically, you're very likely to be you on your own. You will not have a budget, because budget belongs to the operational departments. So here you are. do it with it. Okay, so you must create believers in a way.
Yeah.
There are two types of people, different types of people when you try to affect change. There are the people who will see it clearly and go with you from the beginning. You can start a movement with them. You can just go first, and let's start in those departments which are very ready to. They're willing to do things differently. They believe in customer centricity, etc., etc. So let's start with that. Even if it's not a very big impact action, we should prioritize big impact actions. Of course, I told about the impact and effort score, but many times there are smaller things that you have to do, you can do, in order to keep the momentum, to keep the interest of the people, of the believers. Then there are the fence sitters. You know what the fence sitter is? People who are standing in the fence say, let's see what happens. If it goes well, I will go with the winner. If it goes badly, I always told this was going to fail. Okay? So that's another group you have to be very much in. Have them in your radar. Keep telling them good news, making them understand that this is going on, that it's producing results, and basically results in the terms that they understand, that they can appreciate from their own departments. And then there are the opposers. The opposers are people who are probably going to feel that they can lose power in this change of the situation, because they are basically the ones who have always been consulted, because they basically sit on the information and they never share it with anyone, but that gives the power of the impression that they are the ones who know best, because basically it's understood that most of the value created sits on their department. There are many different reasons why you can find people who are not just fence sitting, just trying you not to succeed that much, maybe because it has always been under their control. And there you have to be very cautious there. You have to show everyone that there's no need that anybody loses, that it is as far as and as long as the customer wins, we all win here. And so that's why I find it very important to research the incentives system in the company. What can change in order for people not to lose, and then for people to understand what the contribution is and how it really moves the needle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if you want to make CX a success, you need to influence the entire system. And it's not just about small initiatives or a string of initiatives. It's really about how are we going to make sure that everybody in the organization gets it. Now, for a CX leader who's listening to this podcast and who has been asked to build a CX strategy, and I'm using the air quotes right now, and doesn't know where to start or is unsure where to start, what's the first thing they should be doing?
Politics.
Okay.
And politics in the sense that I just told you, I mean, just making everybody understand, first getting to visualize that the CMO or the CEO, whoever is supporting or championing this project, it's there, being sure that it's in the agenda of these people, and everybody in the organization is required to report, okay, how is it going? We did a strategy, what's going on with this? I mean, people have to know that it is in the CEO agenda. In that way, it doesn't have to be obsessive. In which sense? I mean, I usually find everybody from every field of management say, first thing, you get the CEO on your side, and it's the most important thing in the CEO agenda. No. It doesn't need to be the most. It's impossible. The CEOs have lots of things to take care about. Many of them are inside, but others are outside the organization, with the stakeholders, with the shareholders, with the owner. It's a very complicated life, that of the CEO. So you have to make it very easy for him. You have to take lots of the work, but you have to make everybody understand that you have not become the owner of every customer problem in the organization. Because you will not have the resources. You just have you will sustain the momentum and be a transversal way in which someone who helps transversally, who helps decide which budgets which additional budgets, if possible, can be attributed to those actions to increase, and how to make visible those results that they are getting, so everybody gets the size of the price.
Yeah.
So that's important. So get to be seen as an ally by everyone in the organization, and be sure that you can make every affirmation you have credible and real based on customer data. So be obsessive with what do we know of the customer, how are we knowing that we're doing better, what are we lacking, and there's a certain amount of money that you have to invest in getting to understand the customer.
Yeah.
If you're not there yet, you conduct a maturity assessment, very quick one, but that's part of what we do, and as a result of those diagnostics, and that will tell you, okay, you need this report structure, you're missing this information, and without this information you can't see what's happening here. You will not see improvements. You will not say, okay, this is the place where we have to act. So try to act on that. On getting data.
All right. Hey, Joan, our time is up, unfortunately. If people want to reach out, where can they reach you?
Via LinkedIn, or at Joan Joan-Sardà.com. Okay, that's my website.
Great. All right. Thank you so much for joining today and talking about building a CX strategy. I'm taking away that a CX strategy isn't a list of things you want to do, but a clear-eyed assessment of what you can do, having good analytics, what you should do, and how it connects to the business. Joan, thank you for being here and for showing us that real CX strategy looks like. Thanks to all of you watching and listening. If your CX strategy fits on a slide, it's probably not a strategy. That's table stakes. Until next time, here or in one of our courses.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right. That's it, Joan.